I sat there for nearly 2 hours, dressed in my best, while the candle on the table flickered lower, and the server kept asking if I wanted to reschedule. It was supposed to be our 3-year anniversary. I had just made the final payment on his car loan last week, a $386.00/month Mustang that I'd covered entirely because he said he needed it for work. I spent my last bit of savings booking a reservation at the Blue Marlin downtown, a place we always talked about trying when things got better financially. At 7 p.m., I arrived alone. At 7:30, I texted him 3 times. By 8 o'clock, I called twice, straight to voicemail. I kept telling the server, he's just running late, probably traffic. But deep down, I knew. My gut was already screaming at me. At 8:45, in walked Kyle, with 4 of his friends, loud, tipsy, laughing. This wasn't a miscommunication. He knew. He looked right at me and grinned like it was a game. Then, loud enough for half the restaurant to hear, he said, "Told y'all she'd still be here!" Like a pathetic poppy. His friends burst out laughing. One of them, Brent, added, "Damn, Kyle, you weren't kidding. She's trained well." I froze. I couldn't even blink. Kyle came over, squeezed my cheeks like I was some kind of child, and said, "This is why she's the best. Pays my bills and waits around like a good little girl." Then he looked me in the eye and said, "What? Did you think this was gonna be romantic or something? That's adorable. I've got poker night after this. I just needed to make sure you were good for next month's payment." The server returned with a tight smile, asking if we were ready to order. Somehow I managed to reply, "I'll take another glass of wine." Kyle and his friends ordered expensive appetizers and more drinks, while still chuckling at my expense. Then he told the server not to bring me food because she's watching her figure, and another 5 pounds and she'll crack the seat. More laughter. My stomach turned. That's when it clicked. 3 years. 3 years of covering rent when he couldn't keep a job because his bosses were threatened by him. 3 years of listening to him scream into his phone about how his parents were useless when they wouldn't loan him money, and how his boss was too dumb to spell plumber. I had saved every angry voice message he sent on Telegram. For some reason, I never deleted them. I finished my wine, stood up, smiled, and said, "Excuse me, I need to take a call." Then I walked to the restroom, locked the stall, and just sat there. Not crying, not shaking, just done. Not angry, not heartbroken, just done. And that's when the real plan began forming. I didn't go back to the table. Instead, I texted my best friend, Melissa, and asked if she could swing by and pick me up in 10 minutes. No questions, no explanations, just come get me. She replied immediately, "On my way." I stepped out of the restroom, walked past our table like a ghost, and stopped at the bar to pay for my 2 glasses of wine. Nothing else. I told the server politely that the gentleman at the table would be covering the rest of the bill. She gave me a knowing nod. Outside, the summer night was warm and the streetlights cast a calm glow on the sidewalk. I stood there, arms folded, staring out at the passing traffic, while Kyle's voice still echoed in my head. Pathetic puppy. 3 years. 3 years of his lies, manipulation, freeloading, gaslighting, and here I was, finally seeing it all clearly. When Melissa pulled up, I climbed into her car, shut the door, and didn't say a word for a full 5 minutes. She didn't push. She just handed me a chilled bottle of water and waited. When I finally spoke, I told her everything. How he humiliated me in front of strangers. How I paid off his car. How he used me for rent and groceries. How he trashed everyone behind their backs, including his own parents. Melissa didn't even blink. "You're not going back," she said, calm and certain. "We're done with Kyle." At her apartment, I cried. For the first time that night, I really let it out. Not because I missed him, not because I was heartbroken, but because I was ashamed. Ashamed that I let him do this to me for so long, that I excused his behavior, that I believed him every time he said, "Just give me a little more time." Melissa brought out cookie dough, ice cream, fuzzy socks, she really is the MVP, and we spent the rest of the night talking about everything I'd ignored. The red flags, the times he lost jobs because his boss was an idiot, the late-night rants to his parents, the way he made me feel like I owed him for not leaving. I even played her some of the voice messages I'd saved. Ones where he called his mom a brain-dead cow and accused his dad of raising a family of losers. She sat there, jaw tight, and said, "You need to send these to them. They have no idea who he really is." That night, I made a list. I always make lists when I need clarity. Lead me, we must block Kyle on everything. Cancel the auto-pay on the Mustang. Collect every voice message, screenshot, email. Pack up his stuff. Change the locks. This wasn't going to be emotional. It was going to be efficient, strategic, clean. Kyle had no idea what kind of storm he'd just walked into. For 3 years I had supported him, carried him, believed in him. But now, I was going to show him what it looked like when I stopped. And I wasn't just walking away. I was shutting the door for good. The next morning, I woke up at Melissa's place with a clear head and a sharper resolve. I didn't cry. I didn't check my phone. I just got up, made coffee, and got to work. Kyle had underestimated me for too long. That ended today. I started with the Mustang. I logged into the banking app I'd used to make his car payments that had totaled nearly 12 grand over the past year. The final one had just processed days ago. I called the bank, explained I'd been manipulated into making payments on a vehicle I didn't own, and that I believed I had evidence of fraud. The customer service rep asked me to email documentation. Within the hour, I had compiled screenshots of texts where Kyle called it his car, and one particularly disgusting voice note he'd sent to his friend Derek, laughing about how I covered the bills because I was too desperate to leave. I attached the files, hit send, and waited. By noon, I'd gotten confirmation that the payment was under review and would likely be reversed. The reps said they'd also be notifying the lender of possible fraud on the account. I didn't smile. I didn't celebrate. I just noted it in my list. Step 1. In progress. Next, I went home. Melissa came with me, just in case. My apartment felt strange. Like it didn't belong to me anymore. Like his energy was still in the air. But that was temporary. I grabbed a stack of garbage bags and started with the closet. 2 hours later, 12 bags were lined up by the door. Every hoodie, every sock, every cheap cologne bottle that he swore was vintage, all of it. No folding, no sorting, just stuffed and tossed. Melissa helped me dig through every drawer, under the bed, behind the couch cushions. We found receipts for nights out I never knew about, a lighter I didn't recognize, and a photo booth strip with a girl I'd never seen. I didn't ask, I didn't cry, I just added it to the pile. By 3 p.m., I was changing the passwords on all our shared accounts. Netflix, Spotify, even the grocery delivery app. Everything I'd been paying for. I reset them, then removed his email and phone number. The only message he'd get now was, "Access denied." The last part of the plan was the voice messages. I'd saved dozens. His angry telegram rants about his boss, his cruel jabs at his parents, and the ones where he described me as his walking wallet. I created a new Telegram account with a burner number and sent the clips to his boss and his parents. No explanations, no comments, just, "Thought you should hear this." Then I packed the last bag, set it by the door, and texted a junk removal service. Kyle didn't deserve a proper return of his things. He didn't deserve anything. At 5:43 p.m., my phone started buzzing like crazy. Unknown numbers, voicemails, texts. One from Kyle's boss that simply said, "Call me." Another from Kyle's mom. "Is this real? Did he really say these things?" But the most satisfying one was from Kyle himself, sent at 6:12 p.m. in all caps. "What did you do?" I didn't respond. Instead, I grabbed Melissa's keys and helped her load all 12 bags into her trunk. Tomorrow, they'd be going to a new home, one that smelled a lot more like garbage than roses, just like Kyle's promises. and for the first time in years I felt free. That night, I stayed at Melissa's again, but sleep didn't come easy. I lay awake replaying everything. 3 years of being patient, supportive, blind. Now, the dam had broken. At some point past midnight, I got up, poured myself a glass of water, and checked my phone out of habit. 37 missed calls, a dozen voicemails, and 1 message from Kyle's mom. "I'm sorry. I had no idea." I didn't know how to respond to that. Maybe I wouldn't. By morning, I had a plan. Melissa borrowed her brother's truck, and we started loading up all of Kyle's things. 15 garbage bags in total. It was surreal. His entire presence in my life reduced to plastic bags, piled in the bed of a pickup. Before leaving, I checked every bag for anything important. Legal papers, IDs, anything I wouldn't want to get blamed for later. Once I was sure, we drove to the county landfill. It was quiet out there, just the low hum of machines and the screech of gulls circling above. Melissa and I climbed out and tossed the bags one by one into the compactor area. Watching his things disappear under layers of trash wasn't sad. It was liberating. Therapeutic, even. Like I was taking my life back one garbage bag at a time. We stopped for pancakes on the way back. I hadn't eaten since that awful dinner. I felt lighter, calmer, more like myself than I had in months, maybe years. Back at my apartment, I changed the locks. My landlord was surprisingly understanding when I explained everything. "Had one of those myself once," he muttered, handing me the new keys. I spent the rest of the afternoon deep cleaning the place. I washed the sheets, opened every window, and lit the citrus-scented candle Kyle used to complain about. I moved furniture, tossed out the pillows he liked, and even rehung the art he said was too girly. Slowly, the space stopped feeling like ours and started feeling like mine. Around 7 p.m., my phone pinged with an email from the auto lender. The reversal had been processed, the final car payment was canceled, and the vehicle was being flagged for repossession due to fraud. I didn't cheer or scream. I just smiled. That Mustang, his precious status symbol, was no longer his. Minutes later, I got a text from Kyle's friend Derek. "Dude, a tow truck just took Kyle's car. He's freaking out. What did you do?" I turned off my phone. But peace didn't last long. The next morning, I woke up to find a note slid under my door. Kyle had been here. The paper was crumpled and smeared with what looked like rain. Or maybe tears. "We need to talk. Please, don't do this. I love you." I stared at it for a long moment, then dropped it in the trash. Later that day, I ran into my neighbor across the hall. Mrs. Jenkins, retired schoolteacher and neighborhood watch queen. She smiled, handed me a small potted plant, and said, "It's so much quieter now, dear. Whatever you did, good for you." I laughed, thanked her, and placed the plant on the windowsill. Kyle had always said I was too soft, too forgiving, but maybe softness isn't weakness. Maybe it just takes the right push to turn soft into steel. And he had pushed too far. 2 weeks after I tossed Kyle's life into a landfill, things started to settle. I wasn't jumping at every knock on the door. I wasn't checking my phone for angry voicemails. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wondering if he'd show up with another apology bouquet. I was finally breathing again. But just as I was starting to feel normal, something strange happened. I got a message on Facebook, an account I hadn't touched in years. It was from Kyle's cousin, Trevor. We'd met once at a holiday party. His message just said, "Hey, I know this is weird, but can we talk? I think you deserve to know something." I ignored it for a day. Then, curiosity got the best of me. When I replied, Trevor didn't waste time. He said Kyle had been telling people I'd gone psycho, hacked all his accounts, destroyed his property, and ruined his career because I couldn't take a joke. The same Kyle who mocked me in public, lied for years, and drained my bank account, was now playing the victim. But Trevor said something else that surprised me. He never believed Kyle's version. "You were always too good to him," he wrote. "Honestly, most of us knew he was using you." We just didn't say anything because, well, we figured you already knew. It hit me like a punch in the gut. I didn't reply. A few days later, I got another voicemail, this time from Kyle's mom. Again. But this one was different. Her voice was calm, almost broken. I just wanted you to know. I'm sorry. For everything. We thought we were helping him, but now I see we were enabling him. Thank you for waking us up. Take care of yourself. I didn't call her back. I didn't need to. Instead, I decided to use that energy for something better. I took the money I used to spend on Kyle's car payments and opened a savings account. I set up automatic transfers, $386.03 every month. The same amount I'd thrown away on his Mustang, only this time it was for me. By the end of the month, I'd saved enough to do something I'd wanted for years. I booked a solo trip to Colorado. I'd never traveled alone before. Kyle had always said it was dangerous, or pointless, or a waste of money. But I was done letting fear, or some man, make my decisions. Before leaving, I adopted a cat. Her name is Mabel. She's sassy, sleeps on my pillow, and hates loud noises. She reminds me a little of myself lately. Soft, cautious, but ready to defend her peace at all costs. On the flight to Denver, I thought about everything that had happened. I wasn't angry anymore. Not really. I wasn't sad either. Mostly, I just felt free. Kyle had taken so much from me. My money, my time, my trust. But he didn't get the last word. I did. As the plane touched down, I looked out the window at the Rocky Mountains and smiled. For the first time in years, my life wasn't about survival. It was about possibility, about starting over, and about never again letting someone confuse cruelty for love. Kyle thought I was a pathetic puppy, but he was wrong. I'm a damn lion,